everyone, welcome to The Explainer. So today, we're looking at something that feels, honestly, a little bit like magic. We're calling it the Alchemy of Stormy Hearts. Because, have you ever wondered how a perfectly comfortable, totally platonic friendship just suddenly transforms into a true, undeniable teenage love story? Like, how does that actually happen? We are going to unpack that exact emotional transition today. So, I want you to picture a moody, romantic backdrop for a second. Think rain against the window, unspoken feelings, and we're going to dive into a story told from a very specific, girls-centered perspective to see exactly how this beautiful shift happens.
I mean, how exactly does a best friend become a true love? It's a question so many of us have asked ourselves, right? Well, we're going to go on a journey today to explore this massive emotional shift. We'll be looking really closely at the internal narrative of a teenage girl who thought she knew exactly where she stood. Right up until one single, dramatic moment flipped her entire world completely upside down.
Okay, let's dive into this. Part 1. The 2-year friendship. The comfort of the status quo. So, every great story needs a baseline. And for our characters, that baseline was 24 months of being completely, utterly comfortable with each other. No pressure at all, zero hidden agendas. He always laughed at her absolute worst terrible jokes, and she teased him endlessly. This is the classic best friend dynamic, right? It's playful, it's easy, and it builds this incredibly solid foundation that, to both of them, seemed totally non-romantic.
But then we get this detailed, nothing more, or so they thought. Ooh, you can literally feel the suspense building there. And this is exactly what happens when we get too comfortable. Friends often completely overlook the subtle emotional alchemy that's just quietly brewing right beneath the surface. They were so used to their routine, that they completely miss the sparks flying right in front of them.
Which brings us to part 2, the stormy night catalyst, when everything changes.
Let's just slow things down for a second and imagine the scene. The mood completely shifts here, from a bright, easygoing friendship to this cool, dark, stormy backdrop. It wasn't just a regular Tuesday, it was one stormy night, and he showed up at her door, completely drenched. Now this completely disrupts their normal, predictable routine. He isn't supposed to be there, soaking wet in the middle of a storm. The weather physically pushed him out of his comfort zone and brought him unexpectedly right to her doorstep. And her immediate reaction? Why are you here? We need to focus really deeply on her internal state right here. The source notes she was confused but concerned. She's not thinking about romance at this exact second. She's operating purely on the protective instincts of a best friend. She sees someone she really cares about standing out in the rain, and she just wants to help. It's this beautiful, innocent moment right before the dynamic shifts forever.
Now, what's really interesting about this next part, Part 3, an unexpected confession. The words that shifted reality. This is the climax. This is the moment the tension finally breaks. The boy, standing there freezing in the rain, finally decides to speak his absolute truth. It's described as a breathless realization. Just think about that for a second. He didn't come over with some rehearsed, polished speech. The physical breathlessness from running through the storm perfectly mirrors the sudden, overwhelming nature of his romantic realization. It's raw, it's immediate, and it simply cannot wait another second. He just looks at her and says, "I just realized I am in love with you." Those are the words. That exact sentence acted as the sudden, undeniable spark. In an instant, a 2-year friendship is permanently altered. I mean, there's no going back to just laughing at terrible jokes after someone drops a beautiful, terrifying bombshell like that on your doorstep, right?
So moving on to part 4, the internal emotional shift, inside the girl's perspective.
So, the crucial point is that hearing those words is one thing, but actually processing them is a whole other thing. Let's carefully walk through her layered reaction here. Step 1, as we just talked about, she starts out confused but concerned. But then, step 2, she is completely caught off guard. And the source tells us her heart actually skipped a beat. That is a visceral, physical sensation. Her body is recognizing the truth before her brain even catches up. And finally, step 3, the emotional release. Tears welling up in her eyes. It is just a moment of pure vulnerability as the whole realization washes over her. And then, right through those welling tears, she whispers, "I feel the same." I really want to emphasize the incredible intimacy of a whispered response here. He yelled his truth through a breathless storm, and she anchors it with a quiet, powerful whisper. Notice how the entire mood completely shifts here. We've gone from the cold, unpredictable storm outside to this deeply warm, glowing realization of love standing right in the doorway.
Which brings us to part 5,
when friendship turns to love. The alchemy complete.
Let's look at how this timeline actually builds, because the pacing is absolutely fascinating. The source beautifully notes that the rain became their silent witness that night. The very storm that disrupted their lives acted as the backdrop that sealed this incredible transition. The base metals of a standard platonic friendship were literally spun into the gold of true love. We start with 2 whole years of platonic friendship. Slow, steady. Then, one single night acts as the stormy catalyst. That leads to 1 minute of a breathless confession, and the result, 1 lifetime of finding forever. It is just amazing how incredibly fast a 2-year bond can morph into forever the very second the truth finally comes out.
Let's define what we really just witnessed here. Unexpected love, an unplanned transition from friendship to romance, which often turns out to be the best thing. Our source text explicitly tells us that absolutely none of this was planned, and that's such a crucial takeaway. If you're watching this explainer right now, let this reassure you, sometimes the very best things in life, the absolute most magical connections, are completely unscripted. Because ultimately, love always feels better when it's true. This is the core takeaway of our source material today. Wrapping up this girl's incredible narrative, we are left with this deeply comforting, overarching realization. It wasn't about some grand, manufactured romantic gesture. It was about the simple, profound power of honesty between 2 people who already truly cared for one another. Which leaves me with a question for all of you. Have you ever looked at a friend and suddenly seen them completely differently? Has a status quo ever shifted right beneath your feet? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this deep dive leaves you reflecting on your own friendships and the complex, beautiful emotions that might just be waiting for a stormy night to reveal themselves. Keep learning, keep exploring, and I'll catch you next time.